Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, where we'll explore how focusing on OEE can help you drive meaningful improvements in your manufacturing operations. My name is Ellie Allen Bathe, and I'm a content marketing manager here at Flexware. And I'm joined today by two OEE experts who I will introduce shortly. But before that, just a few quick housekeeping notes. First, if you're joining us live, feel free to drop any questions in the questions pane of your toolbar, and we'll answer those throughout the webinar or at the end. Secondly, we are recording today's session, so we'll send out the link after today's webinar after we wrap up, and you can share it with your coworkers, rewatch. So we'll have that sent out to you shortly after we wrap up. And then finally, today's webinar is scheduled for about 30 minutes, but if we wrap up early, we'll give you a little bit of time back into your day. So now that that's all out of the way, I'll introduce our two speakers. I'm joined today by Ashley Hooley and Jonathan Geva. Both are experts focused on helping manufacturers implement automated and integrated plant floor systems. Ashley is a business development manager with over 10 years of experience helping high volume manufacturers address gaps in their data. And Jonathan is a solutions architect with a background in engineering and consulting. And he's helped many customers navigate their MES journey, so he really knows what it takes to get the right OEE data. Ashley and Jonathan, take it away.
Thanks, Ellie. So in today's manufacturing world, to be competitive, there are a lot of different key performance indicators that you might focus on. So I'm sure there are people in your operations and continuous improvement teams that are asking you to focus on different metrics like labor efficiencies or cycle times. Maybe they're talking about changeover times. They're probably hosting different meetings to discuss strategies for addressing labeling or printing issues. Perhaps they're talking about tracking assets like tooling. My point is, I'm sure there are people in your organization with different priorities or metrics that they're bringing to the table. There are probably folks in your organization focused on measuring utilities consumption, the environmental impact of producing various parts. So in my line of work, I talk to a lot of different customers in different industries and hear different key performance indicators or KPIs. There's a lot of different acronyms out there. Jonathan, what are some of the acronyms you've been hearing lately?
Oh yeah, I've been hearing TEEP, WIP or WIP, OLE, MTTR, so lots of potential tracking metrics to go off of.
Yes, yes. And with all these ABCs, there's a lot of noise, a lot of distractions. So today's webinar, we want to focus in because we've identified that if you focus on overall equipment efficiency or OEE, that is a leading metric with the highest measurable return on investment. Jonathan, would you mind explaining the different components of OEE and explain the business behind measuring OEE?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ashley. So to understand OEE, we have to grasp that it's actually three different metrics that are weighted together to have a single score. That score comes across as a percentage. And in short, one of the reasons why we believe OEE is such an important metric is because it really tells us how effective we are at throughput without adding any additional costs or time to our manufacturing process. So we see a wide range of OEE scores or percentages. 85 and above is something that we see in the world-class manufacturers. So it's still difficult to get to that 100%, but many times our customers are working in that like 60 percentage range. So these three components of OEE are availability, performance, and quality. And when we think about these individually, availability can kind of be thought of as your equipment. What is your equipment doing? Your performance is that people and operations, something like line speed, tack time, stopped and starved stations. And quality is that scrap rate or that first run percentage. How much are we making good product through our line. And one of the big drivers of OEE as a metric to track is that the higher the OEE, the more you're producing the things that you make. So just more parts in that same amount of time. So with OEE, and the big business case for that is not only the standalone percentage, it's that a good OEE tool will show you a lot, both through real-time data and historical data. You can see over here on this screen from Acumens, a high-speed performance tracking software. You have these Paretos and breakdowns. You're really getting insight onto what's happening, and those gaps between 85 and 100% OEE are spelled out to you. They're reason codes for scrap. They are operator entries on downtimes or misloads. So things like this are extremely important when choosing an OEE tool or going down the OEE path, is that granularity of data, and does the tool suit your needs? So this can be OEE can be a big driver for continuous improvement within your organization. So we glanced over those three aspects: availability, performance, and quality. But digging a little bit deeper is that your availability is your uptime, right? We really want to see that the machines are producing parts on a steady basis based on their cycle time without much unplanned downtime. So this type of state tracking becomes very important, both in real time and in historical data collection. So you can see here in this screen, we have a can making line. Can making is extremely high speed manufacturing. Downtime affects that throughput a lot, especially with so many contingent pieces in a continuous high speed line. So you can see we have the basic colors of green, red, yellow, and this is that real-time understanding of availability. At a glance, somebody can see what is happening in the line, where response time needs to go to, and how our throughput is being affected by potential downtime. So when you're choosing a tool or you're working with another party, understanding those like reason codes and in-depth analysis to allow you to make those future decisions when it comes to equipment is very, very important. Now, another aspect of OEE is that performance. So people and operations. Now, we all have goal cycle times, tack times, standard operating procedures for potentially loading parts or inline logistics. And this is what performance really captures. Are we falling short on tack times? Are operator cycle times going past their ideal state? Do we have stoppages such as shortages of parts from inline logistics? So we have very complex manufacturing processes, and making sure this is all orchestrated together is extremely important. So we'll talk a little bit more about line balancing and things like that, but performance is going to be that score that tells you, are we utilizing the time on an operational standpoint and really making the most out of our cycle times and meeting those cycle times? Now, quality is the aspect of, are we making good parts? Is our throughput going to be of a quality to be able to reach our final customer? So quality is an extremely costly loss when it comes down to it. We've put all this effort of our manufacturing process into our quality or into our product already. And if we have defects or rework, it can impact brand reputation. So these metrics are equally weighted, and OEE makes it simple. Are we producing the good parts? So in the can making industry, as of here, we can see short cans, misprints, or rework required. And this is something that, again, these reason codes become very important. Getting that granular data from either the automation layer or from an operator input with screens in the actual plant will allow us to make our decisions and understand kind of where we are losing some product for quality.
Thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate you breaking that down at a granular level. I'm hoping that the audience is starting to really grasp how it can be difficult to tie other KPIs to realize profitability, but when you focus in on availability, performance, and quality, this OEE metric, that is considered the standalone way of evaluating the best way to impact your bottom line. So in this graphic here, again, we're trying to roll on this packaging or can making that industry that as an example, because it's such a high volume, high speed environment, and it makes for good math equations here. So if you look at, you can create, your goal is to create 2,000 cans per minute. You've got 24 hours in a day. If each can is 5 cents a piece and you increase your OEE score by just 1%, you can see how that can result in over 350,000 in increased profit per year. So it's just this 1% gain that can result in a lot of data-based decision making. Jonathan, would you be able to explain some ways that leaders can leverage OEE within their operations?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Ashley. So we've discussed this a little bit. It's not only the data at the surface that you're getting through these interactive dashboards, but also the wealth of the information that you're getting on a granular level. So I believe that one of the best things about OEE is that it relates immediately to dollars and cents and losses in product. So it's a great metric, and the supporting data is very important for making leadership decisions. These can be capital investments or changes in standard operating procedure, new quality gates. But on a specific level, for availability, that equipment aspect, we have a chance to invest in more predictive maintenance. So utilizing kind of the Paretos that we've seen and some of the reason codes for that downtime, we can target when a machine may go down or when we should intervene on a maintenance aspect. So we've always done this preventative maintenance. We have standard maintenance rules for specific machines or cells, but this is a more dynamic way where we're consuming granular good data from a known source of truth, and we're implementing predictive maintenance for really reducing that unplanned downtime and avoiding the big hits that we see when equipment is down and not producing parts. Another aspect relating to performance, that people in operations, is machine speeds. Obviously, high machine speed, faster machine speed sounds great, but you also require balanced machine speeds across the line. So when we do OEE solutions, we really focus on having an understanding of starved and blocked stations. So if things are not running in a cohesive manner, you can get a buildup of parts and block certain stations, or we starve certain stations from not having input product. So being able to look at different line speeds of different cells, and are we reaching cycle times and optimizing those machine speeds, or distributing workforce or automation equally across the line, is going to be very, very important. So that's something that we're seeing a lot more, especially with increased data analytics tools. This machine speed is going to be very important. And one of my favorites is root cause analysis. Often we don't know why we're coming short on things. How many morning stand-up meetings have we had when we look at, I don't know, a gap between goal parts and actually produced, or missed order dates and things like that. So having data that the team can come prepared with and things to focus on is extremely important. Built into the solution Spark MES OEE, we have Paretos, and these are very powerful and simple tools of what to focus on, what are the biggest hitters, and these can be from quality, performance, and availability. So targeting specific data points and really trying to reduce those hits are going to be very important, and they can be distributed to various departments. So we'll say, who is OEE for? I think that we have enough data to be able to push these to different departments and tackle different problems together. Changeover efficiency and insight into that changeover efficiency is another part of OEE. Often these are gaps when we have manufacturing processes that are running multiple SKUs or require different tooling. This changeover can be kind of this black box of time. So I believe that improving this and categorizing correctly in our data collection is a very important aspect. And this can give data and usable information to our lean manufacturing teams and more operational teams to be able to make those changes and really affect our total throughput. It's a very powerful tool with OEE and the associated data that we receive from it. Now, last but not least is that enhanced quality control. There's a lot of new automation and technology happening around quality control and scrap avoidance. So I think a key initiative can be potential investments into additional automation and AI for defect detection. So this type of enhanced data fed systems are really something that we're going to see be something that leadership can invest into. And I think we have a real world example, Ashley. Could you share something about that?
Yes, yep, absolutely. So Ball is a long-term customer of Flexwares. They are a large global leader in the metal or aluminum can manufacturing industry. Ball Beverage was struggling with delays in real-time data. So they were struggling. There was a delay in getting access to what was going on the plant floor. They weren't really trusting the data they were getting from the plant floor. So there were issues with, data integrity or the quality of manual entry. So, and lastly, I know they were struggling with the amount of time they were spending to export data, manipulate it in different spreadsheets, kind of consolidate different data from different systems and get it all into one place so they could do ad hoc reporting. And so they decided to implement Flexware's Acuments solution. Acuments is specifically made for high speed or high volume manufacturing to monitor, what's going on at the plant floor level. And so pulling the OEE data across sites in a standardized way really allowed them to pinpoint their common bottlenecks and implement standardized solutions across these sites. So right now they've got Acuments implemented in over 20 sites globally, and they've seen an increase in 3% in their overall equipment efficiency score. So again, Acuments is just allowing them to be responsive in their decision making and overall make smoother plant operations. So I know there's a lot of new trends in the market. Jonathan, can you explain what's next for OEE?
Yeah, absolutely, Ashley. So one of the biggest things that we're seeing is the convergence of AI with manufacturing. So I think AI-driven process optimization, especially for more process-heavy industries, is going to be something that we see become more and more popular. So this is utilizing and ingesting data that was collected on the machine level and making on-the-fly process changes. So something that works integral with OEE and good data collection practices. Another one is increased integration. So not only MES and ERP systems, but we have laboratory information systems, we have maintenance systems, and oftentimes we had seen these be very siloed. And so part of it, I know we've talked a lot about data contextualization and granularity, but integrating these systems together can be an extremely powerful tool and a mature position for someone seeking good OEE. Because we can contextualize data on a much more granular level. So we can get information on, order specific OEE. We can get product specific, shift specific. So getting really into the whys, because at the center of this, we're trying to answer questions and make changes and optimizations. So it can be a difficult and daunting task to take all these separate software solutions and make them share information. But we're seeing a big increase in that integration and the paths to those integrations. And this allows, especially for higher level decision makers, you want to have that more enterprise view and a full understanding of how your specific products are moving down your factory lines. And then the advanced automation part. So as software continues to mature and we're getting more and more data, people are also requesting a lot more. So I think we have this huge increase in data available to our software systems from the automation layer. And this is going to be extremely important. So additional alarming, better reason codes for scrap, better detection and predictive maintenance built into our automation. So these can go really hand in hand with OEE. So it's important to have your OEE tools leverage the full ability of your automation and vice versa. So those will go hand in hand together.
There's a lot to consider, a lot of features that you can implement to drive value within your organization. I know Flexor has been serving manufacturing clients for nearly 30 years, often deploying these enterprise OEE solutions across multiple sites that make vastly different products. Please consider us an agnostic systems integrator, which means we provide consulting to help you select the right kind of technology and leverage it in the right ways. So we're often helping our clients develop project roadmaps. What's the right way to crawl, walk, run, and prove out these solutions, prove the value of these applications. So Flexware, we've got a lot of experience creating custom screens that display OEE metrics. We integrate a lot of off-the-shelf solutions like Acuments, and we use platform-based approaches with popular products like Ignition, Wonderware, Rockwell. So if you are interested in exploring or figuring out what the first step is in some of these OEE related projects, please reach out. If you email me directly, I can get you a spreadsheet that we use. It's an OEE data template. And when you fill out that spreadsheet, it gives us the information we need about your plant, about the layout, about the types of machines or cells that you'll be pulling data from. We're figuring out what's the communication protocol and what data can we get directly from the PLCs, kind of helping you fill in the gaps of what we might need to do to get you the data that you need. So there's a lot of different ways to start. We've got different case studies we can show that, again, leverage different technologies. So please reach out if you have any questions. Ellie, do you know if there's any questions that have come in today?
Yes, perfect segue. So the first question that we have is this person wants to know how they can determine where to start. So they're referencing some of the key leadership initiatives that you mentioned, but they just aren't sure which one they might get the best ROI from. And so wanting any advice that you have on narrowing their efforts so they can get the best optimization for their efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ashley mentioned a OEE data template, and that can be a little bit far down the line sometimes. But I would say the first place to start is making sure that your, equipment and machinery, is available to an external system. So if you're going through the process of kind of your requirements gathering, what do you want to know? You know your processes very well. Is this going to be, more of a manual entry aspect, or do you want a fully automated system that runs in the background and kind of captures all this information? So it can be as simple as a kind of wish list. What do we want to gather, and where are we going to start? So often choosing a specific pilot area is a really good starting point of we want to target this high throughput area of our plant that we may not be getting every part out of that we want. So identifying kind of the what you want to see and the where you want to get that data from is extremely important. And then obviously if you want to, reaching out to an external resources that kind of does this type of configuration and development, and going through that functional requirement process is a really good step.
Thank you. That's a great answer. Another question that we had is who should be using OEE? What types of businesses can benefit from it?
So I
Okay.
would say that any manufacturer can benefit from OEE, but the specific who's are a little bit more granular. So we definitely have the aspect. We've showed this both real time and more like data analytics or historical data aspect. So we'll start with the real time. The real time can be used to by anybody on the shop floor who's reacting to what's going on. So these can be line leads or supervisors and team leads. Having what's in front of them, what's happening in the plant floor in front of them, is a really important tool. You're no longer waiting for maybe a radio call to respond to a downtime event, but you're seeing the state change of a machine from running to not running. So this more immediate, almost SCADA-esque kind of response is something that OEE can actually drive, and your good dashboards and OEE tools will provide that for you. Now, on the more historical side, I think it's very multi-departmental. So your quality department can utilize these scrap reason codes extremely well. So they can come prepared to meetings about scrap and of waste, product waste, with really good data that comes directly from the machines and operators that are working on that station day in and day out. Um, and moving up the line a little bit is you have anybody who's making kind of capital expense decisions. So what are we going to invest in tomorrow? I think OEE gives you a really good sense of where the gaps are between ideal and current state. So if you have to make financial decisions, I think OEE is a really good tool and the data associated with it to be able to drive those decisions.
Great. And then last one here is, would it be best practice to incorporate the track and trace module at the same time as the implementation of the OEE module, or would it be better to kind of do those two separately?
I can take that one as well. So definitely, these are two different aspects a little bit. I would say that the crawl, walk, run works very well, but if you're more mature and you have your functional requirements built out and you have two separate goals, one is being this data collection and dashboarding, be able to get that insight into what's happening on the plant floor is one aspect, but then track and trace, it may be a requirement for your industry. You need to meet compliance, or you're having product waste because of misentered overages on something on one of your subcomponents. So I think that if your processes necessitate a track and trace, that is something you can absolutely do independently almost of an OEE implementation, or in parallel.
Mm.
Since track and trace will work alone but directly with your OEE implementation.
Yep, I agree. The only other thing I would articulate there is, and maybe this is pivoting off of what you said, Jonathan, is if we can capture your traceability requirements while also starting with that OEE application, I think that's a great way to get connectivity, start visualizing data from your machines. Um, so my answer would be do both, gather the requirements and understand what your larger big picture goals are. And then if you start with OEE and equally roll into a traceability application, I think that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like an
Awesome.
exciting
Well,
project. I'd love to hear more about it.
definitely. Thank you both, Ashley and Jonathan, for all of your insights. And thanks everyone for joining us today. I hope you're walking away with some actionable insights to take back to your team. If your company is currently looking for a better way to leverage OEE, we have a variety of solutions available, and all of the things that Ashley mentioned that we can get you hooked up with. So reply to the follow-up email that will be sent out shortly after this, or reach out to Ashley or Jonathan if you want to continue the conversation. Be happy to get you connected with the right folks. But thank you and have a great rest of your day.